Hi class, hope everyone's well. We are going to make a bowl today, start to finish. I have a wedged piece of clay. My bat should be damp but not shiny. This one might look a little different to you. It's the Rocky Mountain bat system, so my inserts are the pieces I remove, and then this outer edge just remains on my wheel. So I swap out the inside. So I place my clay that's been wedged onto the center of the bat. I can get it on there pretty good. I'm going to seal it now. Have wet hands, hold one hand on top, a finger along the bottom, and seal it to the base of the bat. Okay, here I'm going to come in and center, so I'm going to have wet hands. My posture is tall and strong. I have my elbows tucked in. My chair is as close as it possibly can be to the wheel, and I will keep one elbow tucked into my side, right there, and keep this hand steady so that it doesn't move around. And this hand is going to guide the rest of that clay into the center. Got the clay essentially to the center. Now I have to cone up and cone down. When I cone down, I'm going to use this meaty portion of my hand. And when I cone up, I'm going to push my hands together, not at the base. I'm not pushing it together at the base. I'm pushing my hands together in this triangle pose. This clay is centered now, and the reason I know that is because my hands, when I have them, the clay cupped between them, they're not moving around when the wheel's on. Stay still. Now I'm going to put my finger in the center of this clay and make a hole and leave the thickness of my finger at the bottom, so I'm not going to go right through to the bottom of the bat. I want to leave room to trim a foot. Now I'm going to add both of my thumbs together, connected, cupping the clay on either side and just widening that same hole. I'm not going any deeper. At this point, I want to widen that area by pulling my thumbs to the side, and I will compress the bottom so that the clay has reached all the way to the bottom of the bat, is the one reason. The second reason is so that there doesn't end up being an S crack when it has gone through the firing cycle. So I know the clay is this thick, and I'm going to do the first pull, just making that space between my fingers a little bit smaller than what the thickness is on the wall right now. Compressing the top to make the rim straight and steady. So I've made the first pull, The thickness is the same all the way through. Obviously it's way too thick. We're gonna keep pulling, and instead of pulling more towards the center, we can start pulling just a little bit out. Do it in gradual increments. Flatten the top. Make sure that the walls are shiny, that they're wet all the way around, that there's no standing water at the bottom of your pot, but the walls are shiny and wet. When do you know when to stop? Like, when do we stop pulling on the wall? You want to get all of the sides to the bottom of the base of the pot about 1/4 of an inch is a good idea. So on this one here, I ran through with my finger, pushing a little bit more firmly on my left hand and using my right hand and the sponge to be the stopper. So we're only pushing it a certain distance out, and this hand is going to prevent it from going any further. I'm going to take a rib over this project shortly, remove any of the slurry, remove the water from the inside, lift it off the bat system, set it aside, and let it get leather hard for trimming. Remove the water. I'm going to pull a rib over the side. I'm going to smooth out the rim now with this piece of leather coming, just draping it over the side and starting the wheel very slowly. Okay, that looks great. So here we have a bowl. It's a nice shape. We will trim the foot on it when it gets leather hard. All right, so this is a little bit more of a close-up for you. I can use the rings on the wheel head as guidance. Turn the wheel on slowly. Feel if the pot is centered. Use a needle tool as backup and just lightly etch a circle in. I'm gonna have a few pieces of clay just to anchor that pot down so it doesn't go flying off the table. With pressure on the top so it doesn't move, apply the pieces of clay to the base of the pot, focusing on pushing down instead of in. Pushing down will keep the pot in the center and not adjust the rim and alter that shape. With my finger on the top of the pot, connecting my hands, I'll make my first undercut. Okay. So I've made that, I'm gonna clean up this little edge here. Just get used to using two hands together. It's super important. Now I have a bit of an undercut on here. And I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to make the first initial point of the foot ring with the edge of my ribbon tool. Use angle cuts all the way in, and then go back with the flat edge. Angle cuts in, back with the flat edge. Clean up any sharp edges. And something to know, we had about a finger depth at the bottom of our pot when we made it. I can hear it's the perfect sound. It's the right thickness all the way around. You'll get used to that as you get more experience. I'm gonna burnish the edges. My sponge. It's not quite wet, but it's not quite dry. Working together with two hands, connected. Okay. Peel the clay back. Maybe flip it over, put it at the center, clean up the rim if you need to. This would be a good time to use your piece of leather. Start the wheel slowly and move with the pot. Okay, to me it looks pretty round. There's the foot ring and the pot. You made a bowl. Here's a bone dry piece that I've made already with the foot ring. Already trimmed on it and ready for bisque. After bisque fire, we glaze it, and then there is a glaze fire, which will then leave you with the completed bowl. I glaze it. There's a trimmed foot ring. It is the same thickness all the way around, including the base. If we were to cut this with a wire cutter, the entire dimension all the way around, with the exception of this little foot ring, will be the same thickness. And that's what we're trying to achieve whenever we're making a piece of pottery.